Welcome back to the Rose Garden. How are you today?
I'm great, sister. How you doing?
It's always great to see you. And I've had a busy week, as I'm sure you have.
Yeah, it's been one of those weeks for real.
I know I live for this time together. So we got a lot to do because we are going to be having a guest later on. But um, I wanted to check in with you to see how you've been surviving all the news on the internet. If there was any hot gossip that you had your hand on this week that caught your attention.
The big things that have been going on is all the stuff that's the movement with Trump, where he's blaming the previous administration on the current economy woes, economic woes. So that's entertaining to me.
Yeah, I haven't been following it much. I've been trying to shut that door on that kind of stuff. Well, something interesting happened to me. One of our family members found a picture of us, and this picture has been um, it's kind of been leading my mind because we were really young in the picture. um, we were I don't know, maybe uh, early 20s
Yeah.
because Sinai was about 2 or 3 years old. So, and I thought to myself, what would we tell our 20 something year old selves to expect now when we have had that same conversation? So I couldn't wait to jump in here and say, what exactly would you be telling if you had to get to talk to your 23, 24-year-old self, what would you be saying?
I would be saying thank you for doing all the things that you have done to put me in the position that I'm in now, that to enjoy, the fruit of your labor, and the choices and decisions that my younger self made. I'm real grateful.
I would be saying similar, but I'd also be saying, listen, keep setting goals and keep dreaming big. And one of the biggest dreamers we know is with us today. Uh, his name is Wes. Wes, how you doing? He is joining us from the West Coast, so that means you had to get up to be with us today.
Right. Doing excellent.
Yeah,
you
what
know,
is it out there in the West Coast right now for you, bro?
You say it again for me, bro?
What time is it there for you?
It's 11:07.
Okay.
For those of you that are new to joining us, I'm Sarita. I am Xadian's wonderful little sister. And for like only 8 more days are we twins. And Wes is somebody who is very much like a brother to my brother. And he has adopted me, I think, when he feels like it, as one of his sisters. So we're happy to have you with us and that you got up with us. It's 11, so it's not as early as I thought it was. I guess I think West Coast time is so different for us, but it's still pretty early, I guess.
Yeah.
Now, Wes, we got you here because there's a lot that we talk about. This is our safe place. We use this time in the Rose Garden not only to honor the gifts that Grandma gave us, but to also talk about, have those hard conversations and to explore things we wouldn't explore normally. But let folks know who you are and how we got in each other's life.
Uh, Divine rotation of cosmic movement. I feel like yeah, that's the best way I could describe it. I could probably try to detail it to a story that would minimize how I really feel it. So I would say divine alignments.
Recognize that. So that means the spirit world had to combine for all of us to come together, and our souls were connected, both here and in the now, and then in the then as well. So you met my brother
Exactly.
first.
We travel together.
We traveled together. So you met my brother first. When I met you with my brother, even though now both of y'all starting to look alike, my brother had a period of plumpness that you didn't go through. So that nice chisel face y'all got, y'all share that now. But when I first met you, that was certainly your signature look, and my brother had a little bit more puffiness on him. So you've always been a disciplined person, and one of the things I've really appreciated about you was your health journey. So tell us about a little bit about that, and then how that connected and helped my brother. Because I think at some point in time, brother, you had to, with that chiseled neck you got now, you got more aligned with Wes, didn't you?
I mean, I never been a plump dude. You know, I've always been a slender dude. But I see what you're saying. I mean, definitely Wes is much more disciplined than me in that kind of a way. So I definitely appreciate him in that capacity.
But Wes, tell us
You know,
about your journey.
let me say that though. I think that discipline, it feeds back and forth in all directions because yeah, I might appear to be disciplined. You know, it's all a journey. You know, certain aspects of life I've been really undisciplined and been learning and evolving and so it goes back and forth. But yeah, I try to be very health conscious related to the body, the temple, food. I try to be spiritual. You know, it's sometimes hard to be in this third density. Like you said, folks might jump out with bats on you or something. You know, you got to be ready for all kind of situations. But I try to be as spiritual as possible. I feel like, yeah.
So have you seen the movie Sinners yet, Wes?
Hey, I was about to watch it last night, so I'm gonna watch it today.
Okay, good. Well, as you take, I've seen it, brother. Have you seen it?
No, I have not.
So there's this big discussion that's happening all over the internet, and even publicly in these movie theaters, where it seems to be like a clash, a perceptual clash between what is demonic and what is African spirituality and what is Christianity. And I know you've heard my brother and I talk a lot about our journeys, where for us, I don't know that I fit evenly in a Christian box, especially as I learn more. And what is I'll say this, I'm not gonna give anything away because I know you're gonna go see the film. What I love about the film is that it brings in references to diasporic uh, aspects of spirituality that I think are helpful and mean something. And even if we didn't know that they were diasporic, people have had those references in their families. Like even those, you had that family member that could make a special root to cure, let's just say hangovers. Or my grandmother made this specific salve to when all of us got chickenpox, which is the same time. She rubbed us down as something that she made from the kitchen. It wasn't like an ointment that she got from the doctors. And so we have had these pieces, although I will say she took us to the church 3 or 4 times a week, right? So we were educated in Christianity and Christian methods, but she was using these kind of spiritual things and medicinal things to heal us that I don't know that she knew herself how to label it. And so I accept all of those things into my life. That reference of spirituality, it doesn't, I don't reject that. But a lot of more traditionalists, especially traditional Black evangelicals or Christians or whatever they want to call themselves, have a hard time accepting that we have a history that started before here in this country, and that spiritual history came with us and was adapted. And that's what I think Sinners does a good job of referencing. So now that you have that information, I want to kind of get your mind on how do you adapt your spiritual practices so that you're inviting to all those messages and not limiting in the way that I think some people are doing in having this conversation about this movie.
Interesting, and I'm listening deeply, right? Because don't get me wrong, I've seen the reference points of the movies. I've seen the hoodoo, the Christianity, how they kind of blended in with music, and that's kind of Black people's spiritual base with the I guess with the jazz or the soul food, hip hop. I mean, or the soul music, hip hop. So I think I'm gonna be very careful in navigating it, so I don't offend anybody. I'd say I feel like we as melanated people are organically spiritual beings. And that's what comes out in our music, and that's why it's so contagious. That's why it's so powerful also, and that's why it can be used against us also too by corporate interests. You know, so I feel like, and that's why I'm be careful. But I feel like a lot of other, because we all, I feel like as melanated people have been raised in a holy rolling, when I'm not understanding that the church was our base, our safe place, so I feel like, if I used to bring up any questions about Christianity, it would be met with this very stern energy of you don't question anything. And, it might be like, you sure the dude isn't supposed to be our complexion? It'd be like, hey, you going too far. But I feel like, and I sent X a song that I thought was interesting yesterday from T.I. It's like, but he was bringing up the point that even though it has been a great base for us, a source of being able to gather community collectives, it's also been, I would say, the version of it that we're given, and I'm being careful even about throwing names out, but the version of it is has also been used to create a concept of, we deal with whatever we got to deal with, suffering, hardship, and we get our reward later.
Mm-hmm.
And we just need to be obedient. So, and it's been used by individuals, and I think they kind of highlight that in that movie too. I ain't seen it, so I'm speaking a little bit before, but like, when you look at the Ku Klux Klan, that's a Christian-based movement, So, look, I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna tiptoe on it. I feel like the founders of the country were all Christian entities, but as we talk about like Islam, they, to me, a form of radicalized Christianity, that went hand in hand with an extreme brutality. So I feel like the greatest thing that we could do is to kind of block out and find our own voice, our own spiritual higher self within us. And that's what I'm attempting to do in my journey. Take it, not discredit or go against anything I've been given, but to be able to say, does that make sense with my internal truth? Does it resonate?
Mm-hmm. Checking your internal temperature. What about you, brother? I mean, have you seen any of the movie and the references? And
Not at all. I haven't seen anything yet. I just caught like a trailer, and in that trailer, the only sense I got from it was that it looked a lot like that. Was it Quentin Tarantino movie? What was that one? It was.
That's the dawn.
Yeah, that's it. It reminded me a whole lot of that. And also, as much as I had any exposure to it thus far, it was just that knowing that director is someone that works a lot with the main character was his name Michael B. Jordan, right? It's the dude from Oakland. I think his name is
Coogler.
yeah, Coogler, whatnot. So he did Creed and Black Panther, and now this one.
Fruitvale Station.
Yeah, it looked like Michael B. Jordan is playing two characters, right?
Yeah, he's a twin.
Twins. Yeah, so that's as much as I know about it. I didn't know it had all this additional symbolism in it. And I realized that the antagonist in this stuff is supposed to be vampires or something.
Yeah.
So that's it reminds me of that Dust of Dawn.
Yeah.
Storyline.
You know what I think that it will be similar, I think, to what Wes shared, which is you have to take pieces of what we were taught and make it apply to yourself. Now, this movie is not for everyone, but I think what frustrates me, well, let me say this. I think this movie is for everyone because this movie is truly a source of entertainment. So if we can see the vampires and the werewolves chase each other, we can certainly see a movie like this that references different aspects of African and diasporic spirituality and combines it with Christianity and has a real conversation embedded in the meeting that might be that might challenge the way you understand your place, and that's okay. Like, I think we can be both entertained and accept something for entertainment, and then start to develop our own ideology. What frustrates me is a lot of like Black Christians are saying, "Don't go see this movie; it's demonic," and, It's got these demonic references when we really don't need to look far for demonic references. I mean, there is a
Mm.
symbol of demonic references when we are uh, really challenging ourselves to say, like, our lies, lies, and is truth, truth. I mean, that's a demonic reference to me, where like people are blatantly lying to you in your face, and some people are accepting those lies as truth and living out a way of character that openly and willingly harms other people. Those are demonic references. And so, like, we don't got to look far for demonic references, in my opinion.
Yeah,
um
I agree. I mean, but also it speaks to the lack of solidarity that exists in the melanated communities, because anybody that's going around saying that you shouldn't watch this entertainment, you know what I mean? It's like, then don't watch any horror movies or don't watch any shows or TVs, period.
right,
You know,
right.
this is, it's not supposed to be meant for teaching or spiritual development. I assume not in like an hour or 2 hours.
Right. But it should do exactly what Wes does naturally, which, and I'd like to hear more about it, which is he takes pieces of what he was experienced. I guess, now, Wes, tell us about your background. We were raised by Grandma Rose. So, like, we didn't really have my house was how would we describe our house? Was it authoritarian? How would you describe it? It wasn't, there was no diplomacy or democracy.
Well, yeah, I think definitely that it was authoritarian,
So we
where
were
our grandmother was laying down what the rules were going to be, and we had to comply and adhere to it. There was no exception to that rule.
no exceptions. And if you did have exceptions, then you were picking switches off the tree to be maimed with. So so Wes, what kind of background did you come from, and where was Christianity introduced for you?
I would say very similar. Authoritarian structure. I always felt like there's a lot of love in the homes that I was being reared in. I was growing up in the middle of DC, so I feel like I was in conflict in self because I was trying to balance out this love that I could be relaxed in an internal environment with the chaos that I would experience when I stepped out of the environment. So I'm trying to, because I feel like I'm growing up and going to school with kids that are growing up maybe in more abusive environments, and they are better at being able to use that aggressiveness. So I had to I had to accelerate in my process of, okay, I got this loving space but I also got to have a way of dealing with this aggression that I'm encountering when I walk outside. So you know that was the soup that I was forming in.
And was it just you, or do you have siblings?
I had a older sister.
So just like me, you got to see, were they brutal to you? My brother, my sister hog tied me in a closet and made me learn lessons.
Nah, I she was probably 5 years older, but I would say maybe what wasn't known is man, maybe around like 7 or 8, my mother got cable in the house, and whoever had the remote had control of who could watch what on the channel. So it would be peaceful, and I remember every time my mother would leave that house, we'll watch that door close, and we get into fist fights over that remote. Like it was combat getting ready to take place of who was going to be in possession of that.
Cable definitely moved. We didn't grow up with any of that in our environment. Uh we were TV. We had one or two channels, and we could watch them for very, very small amounts of time. But what we did have access was books, and so we were able to read
Mm.
and read and read and read for hours. And it was a struggle for me to learn to read, actually. And being the youngest, where you see where I looked up and I saw my brother and my sister being very good at reading, and then they could consume books. I think my brother could consume several books in a day, and I would get sleepy trying to read those books and kind of try to do what they did. But one of the things that was the beauty of having to read books is we developed a really good imagination, and in that way, I think we developed a sense of questioning too. So while I would say I love what you referenced where you said you came in an environment where you had love. So I think we should highlight that even though our environment was authoritarian, there certainly was love there and mutual respect for one another.
Yeah,
Um,
no doubt. I mean, I think also just in this human experience, the way that humans develop and grow is a lot off of imitation and copying what they see. So that's why role models and examples are so important to people. You know, it's but it's to me it's those the disruptors in in our culture, society, or whatnot are the ones that are their own independent, creative, or the, original thinkers, and they break all of the like. Let's just say Jesus, for example, since we on the subject matter, was one of them. You know, he was he was opposing to the common religious point of view at the time. I mean, everything he did was outside of what was to be expected of somebody that was supposed to be a religious figurehead. Like, for example, the people he hung around with, they weren't the the elite. They weren't the small, the small minority at the top. He hung out with the people that you wouldn't suspect, a religious figure to hang out with. And he called to him those type of individuals, right? So at the end of the day, I feel like to me, the people who are really the thought leaders are the ones that are effectively disrupting the way that the common body of shared collective knowledge is just adapting by uh, imitating. Because people always, and me and Wes, we've experienced this in our journey where different cultures are always trying to highlight the differences between us and them, right? But there is no difference between human species. What I mean? Let's go back to what we were saying before. Every single human being, I don't care who you are, we are subject to everything that each other are subject to. Like you can run on these two legs, you know what I mean, but you can't fly in the air unless you got something to assist you. You can swim, but you can't breathe under the water unless you got something to assist you. So nobody is really that much different from each other. It's just, they want to highlight these things. So in this way, I wonder, like you said, what you see in the present day society with the politics and what's going on. I wonder, like, what is actually true? The root fundamental of truth, because if people in position of leadership and power control the narrative of truth, then really truth could be the truth that we now embrace could be super tainted. You know what I mean? And to me, I think it's on us to use our own mind, let's use our own eyes, our intuition, our ears, and all that stuff, and our logic and rationale to uncover what's really, really sincere and genuine.
Isn't that what you liked about Wes though? I think when you introduced me to Wes, it was that even though like his description of, I was in this loving environment and then I had to learn to adapt to some threats in the community, and school, I guess, is the community. Isn't that what you liked about Wes, was his uniqueness and his ability to do that?
So I think that, much like our situation, because I think what, if you just think about this from the perspective of consciousness, right? Like was saying, he came 5 years behind his sister. You just wake up into a world and then there's people around. Feel me? So like what I'm saying is that me and Wes, we connect because our experiences are almost identical. So he could have been raised in the house that we were raised in. I could have been raised in his house, and we would have came to the same conclusions and arrived at the same places. So our experiences are almost identical, and then our character is, the moral fabric that we come from. So I honestly don't think it was something consciously that was happening from me. It's just in these ways, in the faith that I believe in, the spiritual walk I believe in, is that it was ordained already. This is like part of our story that Wes is my brother, and I was meant to be a part of his life, and he was meant to be effectively a part of mine. I think after for all the time that we've been a part of each other's lives, which is before either one of us had children, right? I think my oldest is like what 22 now, so we've been a part of each other's life for a very long time, and in this way, I think we're observers. Like I got the historical record of what has happened, in Wes's life uh, through those years. And I think Wes is the true library of what's happened in my life because he's been there for every single like major event that's been unfolding in my life, and he's been able to see it firsthand. What you think, Bud?
I agree.
Yeah.
A full alignment to every word.
Yeah.
Wes, I would like to hear more about how, because we talked about one of the things that what we wanted to bring you on is to describe how you got so disciplined. So you said you started this conversation and saying like I was raised in this loving environment, but then I had to learn how to adapt. So it sounds like you did a lot of adapting early on. This was like your ability to adapt was something that you had early on. And then it must have took you on some journeys because you said that you didn't always feel like you adapted well. So tell us more about that.
Well, that's just the truth. I feel like I meet a lot of guys today, younger guys, and I tell them, man, I feel like y'all guys are way smarter than I was at 20 years old, 25. I feel like you said, we just said with the centers and the music and the programming of a construct, there's a lot of areas where there wasn't discipline because we fell into the brainwash program, the hypnosis, of wanting to be unspiritual, trying to run from our truth. So, where there was areas of discipline, there's a lot of areas that were, again, I say undisciplined. And it's been a journey of trying to become a holistically disciplined being. It's something I'm still dealing with today, but I feel like I'm making strides. So, it's I don't feel like it's a perfected thing, but I feel like in certain areas, I've been able to, master a degree of discipline, and my goal is to stretch that discipline into all areas. So,
well, tell us how you.
and I feel like I ain't even answered that question effectively,
Well,
but
but tell us how you mastered the food, because I mean, I can't like I'm not giving up chocolate, just not happening. So take us.
I don't think it's about having to give up anything. I don't look at it like that. I feel like that creates a war within yourself right there because you're playing this tug of war with your emotions. I feel like it's about finding a healthier option to the things you like. So I feel like chocolate has a healthy place and a healthy usage within the diet also. They got the cacao beans, they got a lot of organic chocolates. And then it comes down to how frequently you're consuming the thing. I think anything can be consumed within balance.
Mm. So I don't have to give up chocolate, but so what is your diet?
Maybe certain kinds of chocolate, like, and I ain't trying to go against no brands, but,
right.
Snickers, Kit Kat, things that they got the guy, what is it, JFK Jr.? He's literally, not JFK Jr., but what is it, RFK? What's it? So he's right now attempting to attack a lot of these things that are on the shelves, on American shelves, that you won't find in other countries. Substances that's been banned. So I feel like being conscious of what they putting in certain chocolates and eating the eating the brands that keep their products clean.
Okay.
And
Okay.
then she was asking what what's your diet like? What's your choices right now in terms of lifestyle?
Presently, vegan. Presently, maybe eat one. I eat as much as I want, but I eat when the sun goes down right now. And let me be transparent. This ain't something I've been on like I mastered. This is probably like I'm 2 weeks in, but I'm enjoying the journey of this moment. So I'm literally constantly shifting and adjusting and trying out new things. So I'm at this new thing right now, 2 weeks, but I said I'm gonna eat whatever I want as much as I want, but I'm gonna just wait till the sun goes down because the purpose of it is I want to make sure that I'm giving the digestive system, I call it like my micro fast. I want to make sure I'm giving the digestive system time where it shuts down, where it's not doing work.
Okay. And do you hear? So for me, I notice my relationship with food is dependent on my emotions. So
Mm-hmm.
uh, how do you kind of deal with that? Like, so if I have a really stressful day, let's just say,
Mm-hmm.
definitely
Mm-hmm.
mindlessly eating, I'm taking in food, whatever. And it may not all be bad foods per se. It may not all be the chocolate, which chocolate is my favorite, but it's going to be
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be something that's like dumping, kind of feeding the mental part of the stress for the day.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So what do you do
Mm-hmm.
to get those moments?
Mm. Yeah, that's interesting. It's so deep. Yeah, people's relationship to food, and how it can be a stress reliever. I would say it's again not about shifting anything you're doing, but being conscious of it. So I think it's all right to give yourself a treat. If it's being balanced, calories in, calories out. So if it's being balanced with body movement, if it's being balanced with you know uh uh things that are safe to eat, if it's being balanced with not overdoing it, I feel like I see nothing wrong with giving yourself a relaxation treat at the end of the day. Live once, but everything in balance.
Hey, but see, that's a trap.
So I'm not don't have a crazy diet philosophy where you gotta attack yourself in the way that you're dealing with anything. Like it's just finding a balance, like a relationship. Is to say and that's what I guess we really saying. Food is a relationship, just like Bruce, or just like anybody we living with. It's about finding a harmony with it.
But let me tell you something. It was easy to find harmony with Bruce because that New Orleans boy hit different. Let me so it doesn't, it's not the same, with work or stuff like that. That don't hit the same. And now I'm glad y'all brought up relationships because everybody, it's interesting. Everybody on the internet be all worried about my brother's relationship. Is he single? Is he not single? And how does he do it? And one of the things that he and I always talk about is like it's really difficult to maintain intimacy in relationships, right? At least that's his perspective. I think we both share that it's work. I don't know that it's difficult. I think he says that he uses the word that it's harder than people think, difficult. I think relationships are about reciprocity. And I also think we pick each other in relationships. Would love to hear your perspective on love and relationships and intimacy.
Hey, again, I'm gonna try to keep it balanced so I don't create no enemies. But you know, I agree. First and foremost, I agree. It's that's been an interesting journey in itself. And again, that's why I wanted to say shout out to Bruce and you because I feel like we draw a lot of inspiration from successful couples that are being examples of how to do the journey right. So I feel like and this is where I can say again my discipline comes in. I haven't been knowledgeable. And X gave a when we was talking yesterday, he gave I think a 18-point system of things he's looking for
Oh,
from
wow.
the next relationship. Yeah, he should drop that in here. I would say, in just hearing that, he said, you know, I done this in other areas of my life, but I never did this regarding relationships. And hearing that, I had to say, damn, same thing. Like I haven't given full thought to how I'm constructing relationship, what I'm choosing and selecting this partner for. Do they reflect that in the connection with each other? You know, it's been a very impulsive activity for me, you know, low discipline. So I think, just like anything, I've been getting the results of impulsive decisions.
Mm. So have you ever been in love?
You know, that's
They call that a pregnant
we,
pause.
we, look, look, I would say yes, but not in the traditional description of it. You know, this is something else we had in a conversation yesterday. I seen a clip on the internet where a mother had jumped over top of her 5-year-old and she got her hand ripped open. The dog was attacking her, but she was covering this child like you would a grenade. And I said, to me, that is love. What you love, you protect, you defend, you sacrifice yourself for. So, you know, I have individuals around me, you know, including my family here. I'll go to war and sacrifice myself in that protection. So, in that, I feel like that is the truest love. You know, there is a love associated to relationships that I think is a very conditional love. And in that definition, no, because to me, it's based upon, as you say, that reciprocity of, do I feel like people are protecting? Do they have the same protective emotion around me that I have around them? And I haven't got that. So no, I haven't been able to find that intensity of what we would define as love in that relationship arena.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you, bro. Like, I think that, you know, like you said, first of all, just the happenstance of choices of partners that come along. It's just like we haven't really uh, done that definition of the model of what would be ideal to line up with. And then, you know, we've just been dealing with the circumstantial, you know, opportunities that present themselves and whatnot. But then, you know, these things oftentimes ain't really compatible in the long run. You know what I mean? Or we haven't done our due diligence to really see what the core values and character of the individual is before so much has been invested into it. You know what I mean? And
Well,
then,
what can I ask
Mm.
why, like what's missing? Because you know, some of your partners have been around a long time. So if you don't think that you've done, it sounds like there's an impulse initially,
mm,
but then what? What makes it so that they're not value, you know, they don't go to that to that next level? Because I've never, you know, both of you are somewhat serial monogamous. Like the people that's in your lives are been there
Mm.
a long time. They're not just there. So that means that they mean something.
well, I think that, you know, for both me and Wes, we have this ability to. Well, first of all, I think you know, again, drawing a connection from where we all come from. You know, I think we know what it's like to be alone and not to have nobody and stuff like that. So I think one of the you know, you can be looked at as an advantage or disadvantage of who I am and my character is I don't really discard people, you
Mhm.
know. So I won't be the one that breaks away from or abandons a person. I just don't do that. That ain't in my character. And then when someone does you know, do something that requires it, you know, if somebody got to do something, you know, I guess when that outcome, that conclusion has to happen, you know, I can definitely accept it or whatever, but that's not my first go-to thing, you know. And I feel like Wes and I, we both had the ability to compartmentalize as well. Like, you know, from the outside looking in, once again, people might think that you know, these are people that are significant or whatever, but ultimately it's not, because again, like when you look at the way that your life is, right, you can see, the answer I gave you to that question that you asked about if I'm single or not is a very definitive answer. You might say, well, my brother didn't answer it straight up, but again, I feel like, if a person got to ask, you know what I mean, the answer is already there. Because if I wasn't a single person, like let's just say I have a queen or something in my life, wouldn't everybody know?
Mm.
Because obviously when they see me, they would see her. She would be a part of my life. Our lives would be intertwined, you know, things that would be happening. Yeah. But but people want that status, but they ain't really doing nothing to obtain that. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, I feel like the way that Wes and I have been is that even if a person, they don't, they're not somebody that we, are locked in with in that kind of a way, we ain't ever really discarding nobody. You know what I mean?
Well, what would you do differently?
Huh?
What would you do differently? Like, so since you're West, what would you do differently then in your journeys for like, well, two questions really. Like, is love something that you think you can achieve? And then if so, what would you do differently?
Well, Wes and I was talking about it yesterday, and I think like, we love is not a absent value in our lives. Like, we have love in our lives in many different ways. Like, even if it's love that we're giving, like Wes got deep love for his son, we got deep love for each other and all this stuff. But I have not been that consciously intentional about a romantic love with a female, with a woman, right? It's in as much as what the stuff that you think that you can get initially, you know what I mean? Like people just be indulging in those types of things, but they don't really look at in the long run what that means, like having somebody that's significantly a part of your life and you contribute to each other's growth. And that you find that that person is worthy of your investment in time in that way, and that you are to them. But honestly, I feel that one of the qualities of that, Wes, you tell me what you think, is this commitment, to just like how we are, where we ain't like abandoning or exiting from those situations. That the person got to come to the table with that kind of quality. But for the most part, people ain't like that. Especially females, like they on that hypergamous monkey branching thing. That see if they can what new branch they can jump to, what I mean? That grass being greener on the other side. You know what I mean?
So,
Wes, let me hear from you.
I would say, and lack of discipline again. I chose, let me say this. And this is something again we were talking about, because I told X, I said, look, I realized that and this is why I can't place blame. I'm not sitting here pointing my fingers like it's the women, it's the women, it's the choices that I made in the woman. But I say, I realized that, and let me first put this up. There's always exceptions to the rule, So this ain't no blanket statement. But
Okay.
I say a lot of women don't choose men because of the being that the man is. They're choosing an archetype. So this is where we talk about again a fantasy construct. They actually, I found that the more closer. This is why I feel like the more the man sells a fantasy and stays mysterious, the more intriguing he is to the woman. But when he brings that woman in close, and if she's not, if you didn't choose a woman that is loving you for the being that you are, she's actually beginning to despise you as she gets to become more familiar with you, because, she's now then been, orientated with the archetype that you are. Now she's looking behind the curtain, and, especially if you are imposing what she sees as structured, she might not interpret it that way, but, so it becomes this relationship, or this space where we think that maybe we haven't given enough instruction. So we are trying to recalibrate the relationship. We're men. We're trying to fix it. We're like, all right, let me sit and talk with this girl. Let me make an adjustment. Maybe she's not understanding. And what it actually is doing is the more that we're talking, the more they are developing this inner despisement and hatred. Because it's like really in their mind, they like, I wish this dude just shut the hell up. And for me, it becomes, I need the next thing that is presenting this archetype of, whatever it is that person might be searching for, a bad boy, mysteriousness, whatever that is. So, but we think that we are constructing something traditional, something with a solid foundation. So you say we are serial monogamous. I would say, maybe we are in the sense of trying to construct strong thing, especially when the kids are getting introduced into the environment and homes are being purchased. Like, yeah, you hoping that, because we are projecting who we are. So we feel like we solid. So, we want to see, or we're trying to find something solid in the beings around us, even when they're showing us, in so many ways that it's not, so yeah,
Well,
I'm
that's a big mouth definition of stuff, and I got to sit with that for some time, but I appreciate y'all's candor, and I think we got to wrap up soon. But I got some would you rather relationship questions that I think
okay.
On a basic level, hearing y'all's answers will tell me a lot of truths about y'all. And as y'all know, I'm a psychologist by training, so I'm gonna tell you this because I love both y'all. Y'all need to get on somebody's couch. It's a lot of stuff to unpack in them stories, y'all. Y'all need to get on somebody's couch and have some discussions about what's going on. Look, that made Wes disappear for a second.
Yeah, that's funny.
All right, so both of you get to answer this question. All right, so these are relationship questions, and these questions it's a game. Have y'all ever played Would You Rather?
Nah, I never have.
Okay, so how you do it is I'm going to ask you two questions, and you have to pick the answer. Then you're going to tell me why you picked it. All right.
Okay.
Okay, so would you rather be in a relationship where you love your partner significantly more than they love you, or the other way around? Wes, you go first.
I love them. No. And I'm gonna just try to be quick with it, but as X just said, the hypergamous monkey branch, and the man has to be directed on the mission and the focus and security. So yeah, I need that woman to be way more into me. That's just my truthful answer right now.
All right, brother, what'd you say?
I honestly don't like neither of them choices. You know what I'm saying? Because I feel like
gotta pick. You cannot not pick.
I'm a ride with what Wes said, because I think if it got to be one or the other, then I think that the other option is the better option.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would you rather big booty or big brains?
I'm gonna go with big brains. I would. The booty is. I never been overly obsessed with the badonkadonk effect. So yeah, I want somebody I can talk to and we can build on something strategic.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I agree.
No, you know what? I'm gonna make you go first, brother, because you can't just piggyback on.
Okay, I'll go first, but I agree with him on that 100. I'm like, we aligned completely on it.
Okay. Would you rather a person who lies for your good or always tells the truth no matter what? Brother, you go first.
So lies for my good
or your good?
I'd rather the person always tell the truth no matter what.
Tell me why.
Because I'm 100% accountable, willing to be accountable for every choice, everything I do. So I don't need nobody to lie for my good.
Wes?
To be real.
That's deep, Hey, define what you mean when you say lie for your good. What does that mean?
I did not make up these questions. You got to use that intellectual mind you have.
Hey, bro.
All right, so I'm gonna answer it. I'm gonna say this. On this one, I'm gonna say yeah, she gotta be that. If it's for my good, now don't lie to me. I just want to make it clear.
What is she?
Don't lie to me. Now, if you come in and we like, yo, you better say this and this and this because it needs to happen. And you lying on my behalf, I'm with that.
But I was thinking that too, right? But I think like the way that the question is answered is somebody can determine what they think is in your what's good for you. Like say for instance,
Nah, that gets you triggered.
Yeah, so to me, I'd rather just give me the whole truth. Like I'm a big fan of intelligence. You know what I mean? Tell me everything, and I'll parse through the logical processes that need to happen. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Don't lie to me for my good. Tell me the truth. You know what I mean?
So Wes said it. Would your answer change if it's thinking about it the way brother thinking about it?
Yeah. Now, if she gonna lie to me because she think that's the best for me, nah, I ain't with that at all.
All right, and this is the final one. Would you rather be? Oh, no, I said that one already. Would you rather live your best day with the person you love the most, or all of your years with somebody that just makes you feel lukewarm? So you one day with somebody you just love the most.
Who you want to go first?
Let Wes go first.
I'm gonna definitely say love the most, you know, because again, that we hold real love. So you know,
but you only
if it ain't real,
you only get one day with that person.
But you know what? Look, check it. You know, I feel like life is short. I recognize that shortness. We all going up out of here. So yeah, I wouldn't even measure the time that way. I would say I rather the authentic thing than a bunch of time wasted on something that ain't the real.
All right, brother, you get the last word on this.
Shit, I want quadrillion% agree. I think that one day.
One day.
Yeah.
Well,
what's your response to all that?
Yeah, I was about to ask that. Right. I want the feminine perception on that.
Yeah.
Y'all don't get to know that because our time is up. But
she want to go on out of here on that whole what? She got
Nah, you got to get that to the viewers. You can't leave them in suspense on that.
Yeah. I gotta leave them in suspense, but you know what? Y'all can always rewind this back and ask me my questions. But I learned a lot about both of you and your questions, and I think our viewers did too. Wes, it is such a delight to have you, and thank you so much for all your candor and being here with us in the Rose Garden. You know, we spend this time together every week just for our own self-satisfaction and our own ability to escape a little bit away from the nonsense and craziness of the world and create an environment that not only honors grandma, which I think today she would really have been intrigued by both of your perspectives and felt at least in some way hopeful for the male species, since none of y'all seem to be out here trying to be, you're not disloyal. I think we learned a lot about that. You know, you're not just going to abandon people. You have a matter of discipline, and you're going to let us eat whatever food we want within reason and balance. So I appreciate everything that you brought to the table today. Brother, you have any last words to say before
like I said, Wes, you already know, man. It probably don't need no words to even be broken between us in terms of what you mean to me. And I'm super grateful to have been blessed to have a brother like you in my life, you know, that has been there for me in the ways that you've been there for me, man. I always love to hear your perspectives and your thoughts and feelings. So thank you, brother, for spending.
Hey, that's full circle, brother. Real talk.
And brother, do you want to highlight Wes's farm, or how do we want to close out?
Well, you know, since Wes is on, man, he can probably do the best representation of what he got going on out there.
Well, let's build it up, because Wes, what you may not know is we always try to highlight. We do something special each time, it seems like, but we do like to highlight and uplift the people who are on our podcast and talk about the work they're doing in the community and how we can support that community and that work. So folks that don't know it, you know, even though you from the city, you from the district, boy, you was a farmer now.
Official. Yeah, right, right.
So tell us about your farm and how we can support it.
So I'll say this: we're revamping right now. We're putting some crops in the ground, and in this coming next month, we're resetting up some grow rooms where we're going to do like another microgreen run. We did a big microgreen run a few years ago with all different varieties. So we're going to try to do a lot of products based on that, skincare products. So I got a name, but we're getting ready to revamp the name. So before I throw it out, I want to make sure that I'm clear on the name. But I definitely come and drop the name. But we definitely we got 80 acres here right now, and we're trying to transition into the future. So we're trying to go from traditional farming into controlled environment, blending traditional agriculture with technology. That's what we're aiming for. Future concepts and food production. One thing I want to throw out too is if we talking about health, I gotta get this my guy out here a big shout out. It's a guy, Joey Word Official. Check him out on Instagram. Melanated bodybuilder, young brother, all about showing you how to bulk up on a vegan diet. Also into the agricultural and all that too. So yeah.
Yeah, big up to Joey, man. I think we got to shout out some of the people that be supporting us too. And I think who's the regular folks that be signing on in with us. So Sarita, is it Stacy one?
Stacy one.
Shout out to brother Lamar Bruce, you know what I mean? And all the fam.
Yes.
Also, Daryl Alexander. Hey, Daryl, right? From around the way. He be doing the Zoom.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So he been he be plugging in and sharing and all that stuff. With big salute to him. And
Seafood Anderson.
Yeah, there you go. Seafood Anderson be big.
Oh yeah. What's up, Ed?
My hairdresser also tunes in pretty regular, Katina.
Oh, word. Now I seen Aiden dropping some comments in there.
Oh, those are the Germantown folk, huh?
Yeah. So want to show some love to everybody that be tuning in, liking, sharing, and just participate in our community overall. So big salute to you all.
Absolutely. We enjoy this, and we hope we see you next week at 2:00 in the Rose Garden. Brothers, bye for now.
All right. Take good care, sister. You too, well.
Peace.